Hello and happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday. I'm Darcy Loma and I am with a special guest today, Katie Bapple, who is here from Building Brave, which is an organization that I have been involved with for years. I originally connected with Mary Burke when she was running for governor. And then when she launched Building Brave, I did a workshop back in January of 2018, pre-COVID. And we have partnered many ways in the 4 or 5 years since then. So, Katie, I just want to welcome you and say thank you for being here and ask if you would start by introducing yourself.
Yeah, thank you. First of all, I am so honored to be here. First of all, representing a great organization like Building Brave. Thank you for mentioning that at the beginning. As well as, I've looked at a lot of the Thoughtfully Fit videos. There's a lot of really impressive, amazing guests, and I am grateful to be one of them now on your list. So thank you so much, Darcy. So I'm Katie Bapple. I'm the Chief Community Officer at Building Brave, as Darcy mentioned. And I am a community builder by nature. I've been in this industry my entire career. I landed in it by accident. But the great thing is that I'm in the business of bringing people together, which is a really great place to be. It's a really unique role, especially in these days where we're changing how we want to show up as community. It was in person, then it was online, and now in person is in again. So it definitely changes how we find connection and support and how we empower each other just through everyday lives. I started supporting very large global communities of people in specific professions that were looking for support on how to move forward their careers and find help. And through that work, I was really fortunate to partner with a software company to co-found a professional services division so I could help teach other organizations how to create a sense of community amongst their customers, against people that just came together around common interests that they wanted to support and make happen. And through that, I was really lucky to work with IBM for 5 years and help them launch IBM.community.com, community.ibm.com. It's been a few years, but if you are a part of the IBM community, thanks for supporting my proud moment. After that, be through that work. There was an acquisition, and I was able to grow a large team of community builders and kind of spread that work across many organizations. And I had the unique opportunity to come to Building Brave through that mission and really focus on how to do something closer to my heart, which, of course, as a woman, is to help empower other women through the sense of community and support and coming together to create that sort of environment.
Yeah, and for those people who aren't familiar with Building Brave, who haven't heard of it, could you just share a little bit about the mission and how it supports women?
Yeah, Building Brave is an online community that was really founded with the intention of empowering, supporting, and enabling women to advance personally as well as in their careers. And I really love the story of how Building Brave came about. Our CEO and founder, Mary Burke, she was running for governor of Wisconsin in 2014. And even though she didn't win, it was tightly contested. She did learn a lot through that process.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure, as all of us can imagine, going through an election on anybody, especially as the candidate, is extremely trying. You have to have very thick skin. You have to endure a lot of criticism. You really have to show up every day and decide that you believe in yourself more than anybody else, and you know that your intentions and that your value and that what you bring to the table is important. And through that experience, through the support that she received, she just realized how much she had to offer and how much she had to give as a woman, despite any sort of messaging that society or her upbringing or anything like that might have thrown at her. And she wanted to give that back to other women. So she created Building Brave about 6-7 years ago to help support and create equal potential despite gender. And that's really our mission, is we want to make sure that we're creating a place for all women through our broader community, as well as for women in very specific organizations to feel like they're empowered overall through other women and through their companies. And so we also work closely to that second part with women's employee resource groups within organizations to create partnerships, to create these opportunities for people, to create mentorship, to reinforce the fact that we understand that sometimes it feels like our innate behaviors separate us, that you can feel like an other in a meeting room in everyday life. And that's important things to talk about and for us to recognize and learn how we grow from each other.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, can you imagine being on the front lines in that public way running for governor? I remember seeing her out campaigning and then also seeing her do keynote speeches afterwards, after she lost, about that really public process that she went through. And now using that to inspire and empower other women. And, we're still in a time when, in a world when men and women have different challenges. And so I'm wondering, certainly I think Mary used that obstacle, that challenge, that loss to breed something amazing in building Brave. I'm wondering if you can just share for us, Katie, what are maybe some obstacles that you personally have overcome?
Well, I feel like as a woman representing a community of women, I really need to speak to the obstacles that are career based that I faced as a woman. I don't like to dance around the facts of my career and what might make it unique. I started in management at a very young age, and at that time, there were definitely more men even than there are today that were in management roles. I've been told by people that have hired me in the past that they were hesitant to do so because of my age, despite my qualifications, and that it wasn't until I ultimately had to prove myself and that my qualifications were accurate that I could be taken seriously or given the runway that my role deserved. Things like I like all women, we've had certain labels. Being called aggressive is something that I became very accustomed to. Kim Scott, if you watch TED Talks, has a really great conversation on this, but it's just another way of labeling an assertive woman who's not afraid to go out there and not make herself smaller and to speak what's on her mind and know that her points and ideas are valid. And I've never been discouraged by that, but it has resulted in a lot of shouting matches between myself and men where I've been managing up. And I don't mean this in a contentious way, because ultimately the funny thing is those types of contentious conversations and showing that I'm here to do work. I'm here to get great outcomes. I'm here to do it with you. That's ultimately when they started respecting me. We'd get done with this heated argument. We'd give each other a high five. I'd walk out the door and we'd never have that situation again. And all of a sudden my voice mattered more than it did before that conversation. So it's the obstacles really are, overcoming the innate stereotypes that we all face just as a society that comes from unconscious bias. I don't think anybody's out there intentionally creating disadvantages for people for the most part. It's just a way that we have learned behaviors based on our surroundings that creates an extreme amount of mindfulness in order to overcome the way that we think so that we're not creating these obstacles for other women. Because my story and what I've seen and had to push through is not unique by any means.
Yeah, and it sounds like, Katie, I mean, there's unconscious bias and that we experience as women and that you experience as a woman. You also, as being young and working your way into a management position early on, having to deal with the unconscious bias of, are you ready for that? Can you handle that? And then the added dynamic and the obstacle that you're really assertive, and how you had to navigate maybe the unconscious bias of being a young female leader, and where maybe that assertiveness isn't as common.
Yeah, and I think, I've noticed this a lot in the community, especially, having the opportunity, not even just talking to other women and friends that are also very successful and really focus on their careers, but just in the community. It's a habit that I don't think we realize we all face, where we make ourselves smaller. We 4 out of 5 times a man's interrupting us and we're not the person interrupting them. And this isn't, I'm not a feminist. I'm not here to talk negatively about the opposite gender or anybody who identifies in any particular way. This is research. These are just innate behaviors that we all have. And so I think, just the ways that we naturally interact with each other and what we're expected to be, we fall into the mold of what we're expected to be. And there's a lot of women that don't feel comfortable stepping out of expectation because that's what society molds us into. And so showing up and breaking out of that and acting in a different way, it's uncomfortable. It gets you attention that some people, don't like to experience, because it's not always initially positive, because is unexpected, and people don't really know what to do initially with unexpected situations. We're creatures of habit, and we all have to adjust to change together, but pushing through the uncomfortable moments is ultimately what helps advance us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have found in my life, when I need to push through those uncomfortable moments, I need to deal with those obstacles, that there have been mentors, and the importance of having a mentor to be able to go to be a sounding board, to help me point out my blind spots. And I know Building Brave really focuses on creating an environment where women can have mentors. I'm curious if you have had any mentors in your life and what the impact has been.
Well, I find it hard to pinpoint one specific mentor. I feel like when I think of what most impacted my life, I think about a body of people. And so I have to give credit there. I am very fortunate to have had the life-changing experience to have gone to a boarding school. When I was younger, those are our most formidable years, so I have to go back that far and speak about high school of all things. But the really great thing about this little boarding school that I went to in the middle of nowhere, Indiana, is that they focused on leadership as much as they focused on math or science. It was just a
Wow.
part of the curriculum, which meant that they gave both the boys' school and the girls' school. Boys were military, girls were kind of the English prefectorial Harry Potter type situation, lots of fun, where you got put in different leadership positions over your peers. They trained you, they gave you power, they understood how you could help lead others. And it was really this big focus on servant leadership. And the thing that came through from every teacher that I worked with, every mentor that I was paired with, every counselor that I had, was that they never created any difference in any sort of potential by gender.
Mm.
They didn't have any differentiation in sports. So if you were a boy who played lacrosse, you could be a girl who played lacrosse. If you wanted to be on the hockey team, you could be. It didn't matter if you identified as a he, she, or they. They were very inclusive and made it very clear that it didn't matter who you were. You had the potential to be a leader, that you mattered, that what you contributed to a society was something that was valuable and that you should pursue. And so just having an environment where all of the people I looked up to and all of the people that were teaching me and that were responsible for taking care of me ultimately at the end of the day, because my parents weren't at school with me, was just a really impactful experience, where I think it shaped a lot of my ability to find it potentially a little bit easier to be uncomfortable, because boarding school is a very uncomfortable experience.
Oh my God.
My roommate was from Taiwan. One of my best friends was from Bulgaria. And so you get over a lot of that stuff where there's differences between you and other people, because it just kind of, you learn to make it all blur together and realize that we're all the same and all have equal potential. And
Wow.
yeah,
I mean,
it's hard not to make an example of that.
yeah, what a fascinating experience. You were at a young age away from your parents and in this environment in this boarding school where they focused on giving you leadership opportunities. And I'm going to guess that that had something to do with you being able to find your voice and get a management job early and be assertive.
It's the training that's inspired where you serve others, and you can't do that unless you are able to be somebody who voices what's best for the people that surround you, whether that be your customers in your professional endeavors, whether that be even your family, whether that be the people on your team if you're in a management role. And so if you can't properly serve others and know how to navigate that, then ultimately it's really hard in my mind to be successful. And so that's where you have to push through the discomfort that we talked about earlier, and figure out your voice pretty quickly, because once it's not just about you, once you decide to be responsible for supporting the success and the happiness and of other people and how they move forward, people kind of depend on you and look at you. And I think that that's enough motivation to say, you know what, I can do this. I can take the lead from here, and show others how to do it too, because this matters and it's important.
Yeah, so cool. So I'd love to hear, given all that training and overcoming the obstacles and having mentors, is there a success story that you could share, whether at Building Brave or elsewhere, that you were able to overcome an obstacle, or on the flip side, maybe a fabulous failure?
Ooh, I wasn't prepared. The failure question is always the one that you get in like job interviews. And
Right?
you're like, oh, what do I do that's like was a failure but doesn't feel like a failure? Like people don't like to out themselves. But I like to pick the unconventional route. So I was trying to like flip the script really quick and be like, ooh, what can I think of on the failure side? If I think of something, I'll bring it up later.
Yeah, perfect.
For now, I will speak to Building Brave since it's kind of on theme with this conversation. I joined Building Brave in January of this year at a time when we were getting ready to look at how we can better empower women through additional opportunities outside of what our proprietary software platform that we use was really offering people. And we had a new feature that we were working on, and they were called mentoring groups. Well, they were called groups. We didn't even have this idea yet when I started that we could use them as an endeavor through mentoring. And so through partnership with Mary Burke, our CEO, as we mentioned earlier, as well as some of the team, we were able to brainstorm and ideate, okay, we need this to be more than what we originally envisioned. We know what our members want. We know what women are asking for. They wanted more intimate spaces to connect with one another, but we needed to come out with something bigger that really supported our mission. And so I'm really proud of what we ultimately came up with, which was this idea of mentoring groups where we can bring women together around this expert created content. So we go out and we find people who are really experts in their field at very specific things. For example, we're running a mentoring group right now on imposter syndrome, which is something that we all feel at some point and is super pervasive amongst everybody. I don't care who you are. I feel like everybody has had that negative self-talk voice in their head at least at one point in their life that they've had to help push through and overcome and hopefully not give into. But we work with these experts to get this content to help create exercises and activities and conversation starters that really make people reflect and think and practice how they can overcome specific situations and gain a new skill by the end of this group's programming. We have trained facilitators that help guide it. And the whole idea is we're bringing together women from multiple organizations in different roles to learn from one another, to learn from the source material and kind of grow and push through this challenge to come out the other side with a really great new skill that will help advance them within their organization, within their career, or just as an individual, because all of those are really great wins. And so I think we're really proud of having that kind of opportunity that we can offer within the Building Brave community to our partners, because it's just another way that we can make sure that we're reaching people in a meaningful way and giving them a valuable takeaway by being a part of this community.
And you've done all that since January.
We did. Yeah, that was actually wrapped up in April. So no big deal.
It's amazing. It's one of the things I appreciate so much about Mary is she's got a vision and she's willing to take a risk and try something and then test it and beta test it and then pivot and redefine. And I think building Brave is a excellent example of how she keeps looking for what's needed in the marketplace and how to provide that.
Mary definitely is the brains behind the whole operation as far as thinking outside the box and not sitting and being stuck in just what exists, which I've been in a lot of organizations where that's the easy thing to do, and change takes a very long time. Change does not take a very long time at Building Brave. Ultimately, we want to make sure that we're staying on mission, that we're serving the people that we exist to provide, a purpose and a place for. And so ultimately that involves rethinking things a lot. And it could be a matter of a couple of days where we'll have made a decision and we'll initially start watching it very carefully. And Mary definitely has a hawk eye for this, where she's being very, very attentive to detail, looking at all of the numbers and all the interactions and reaching out and talking to people that she's connected with within the community and saying, you know what, we need to change this. Here's this new idea. What do you think about it? And we'll workshop it together and we'll come back and it'll be a matter of a week and we'll have completely changed the script and we'll be testing something new, which speaks to how great our team is as well, because they're very agile and deal with ambiguity fantastically, because we're all there to support the same mission. We all want to be successful.
Right.
So it's been a great learning environment to be in a company that is so agile and will flip the script immediately should the situation demand it.
Yeah, so that's awesome. And I have one more question that I want to ask you, given all that success and the agility and being on a team. And you may not know that I have two teenage daughters, and you've clearly been incredibly successful in your career. I'm wondering if you would leave us with any advice that you have for whether it's teenagers or women or people who are listening.
Don't make yourself smaller. Being in the Building Brave community has taught me so much more than I even realized. And know that what you face as a challenge you're not alone in that. It's amazing to read how many women deal with imposter syndrome, how many women struggle to balance the success of their careers and keeping their home base organized and feeling like a place where you're providing and being a successful parent or partner. How many people have this immense self-doubt or feel like they don't know how to tackle something like mansplaining or any of the various things that we just naturally face as a byproduct of our culture when it comes down to it. And we can't make change. You can't be more comfortable. You can't break out of where you are unless you want to help change those things. Unless you want to tell somebody and stand up for yourself and say, no, my idea is valid. And I haven't heard a no, which in most cases you haven't. You just see some resistance. And a lot of people at that point, they back off. I've seen it with teams that I've worked with in the past, especially females, where you get resistance and then that's where you stop. Don't stop there. Until you get a firm no and a reason why your idea is invalid, keep reinventing it, keep trying, keep coming up with new angles, keep believing in what you have to say, because ultimately I feel like that made the entire difference for me and any of the things that I can put on a resume and say, I did that. And I can be proud of that and I can carry that forward. And this is what I have to offer to other people now because I took control and decided that I had something to offer and I followed through and did all the steps to make it happen. Even if it should have taken 2 weeks and it took 2 years, it's that persistence that happens a lot. I'm sure a lot of people will listen to this and be like, yeah, I've been there. And I have too. So just, I feel like I can keep going in a loop here because I feel so strongly about this. And I feel like it really has made all the difference. But don't stop. Don't be small. Don't be quiet. don't be hesitant and don't decide for other people that they should not show up to your meeting, or they should not take their call, or they should not listen to you, because ultimately it's the people that you get in front of and the people that you make believers that ultimately help get you bigger platform and give you the voice that you're looking for.
Yeah. Beautiful. Don't play small. Don't let those obstacles stop you. Look for ways to keep on going through the hard times. So we always end our Thoughtfully Fit Thursdays with a core workout. So the next time you're faced with obstacles, just take a moment to pause and think, how can you find community? What mentors can you turn to? How can you not play small? And then take the next step to act, knowing that you're not alone. And I just want to ask Katie, if people are intrigued and they want to learn more about Building Brave or about you, where can they go?
Well, I hope that you'll join us at buildingbrave.org. You can find me on LinkedIn. Just search Katie Bapple if you want to connect or ask more questions. I'm always happy to connect with additional people out there who we can learn from, and well, who I can learn from, and hopefully we learn from each other. And I want to clarify that, Building Brave, obviously, if you're a woman, we'd love to have you. It doesn't matter how you identify, though. We just love the opportunity to have a space where we can learn and empower each other, regardless of what you identify as, ultimately at the end of the day. So if anything I said struck a chord with you, or something that you want to help support, or you want to be part of, overcoming some of our unconscious biases that create some of the gender inequity that we face today, we'd love to have you. I'm making this sound like it's a whole big social issue, and that's, it's really just a great place for people to connect and empower and support one another for their own personal advancement.
And I'm so grateful you ended on that, because it really, at the end of the day, comes down to people and trying to help each other thrive and succeed however you identify. Thank you so much, Katie, for being with us. And thank you to Mary Burke for being such an inspiring woman who created this organization. If you want to know more, go check out buildingbrave.org and go and connect with Katie Bapple on LinkedIn. She's got a really impressive profile. I was cyber stalking you before this.
Thanks, Darcy. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I hope to make some new friends through this experience, and I've already made one, right? So
absolutely. Perfect. Thank you so much. Happy Thoughtfully Fit Thursday, everybody. We will see you next time. Take care.